Yeah, hi there. These comments are for JS, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. You are one of my TOEFL writing bootcamp students, and I believe back on December 27th, my teaching assistant read and scored this particular practice test, right? He gave you a score of 3.0 out of 5, 22 points out of 30. And then you also want me to error correct this particular essay so you can get some idea on some things that you need to do in order to improve your integrated writing. So in this video, I will rewrite your essay to show you what changes you need to make in order to score 30 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. And then I'll do a diagnostic of your writing, and I'll recommend any grammatical areas that you might need to improve on. I will make some of those recommendations to kind of help you with your writing. Okay, so first of all, if we look at the rubrics, I think you probably could do a little bit better, maybe in one or two cases, in improving your connections between the reading and the listening passage, though you have done a good job overall with that. You have a few language use issues that you can work on, and I think some of these changes will make a difference in your overall score. All right, so I have the reading and the lecture on the right side of my screen here, and I have what you wrote on the left side. So now let's work with what you have. So you say the lecture and the reading are both about homeschooling. I would put here in which. You might want to say in which. You have is student. No, you can't have two verbs in your dependent clause there. So in which a student stays at home. Or how about this? Let's make this plural. So in which students stay at home and parents guide them through their coursework. The author of the reading believes that the idea of homeschooling gives more negative effects than positive effects. How about this? Let's make this a little more concise. So it gives more negative than positive effects, like lack of social interaction, irresponsible parents, and you need to make this a noun to make it parallel with the other ideas, and the prevention or the preventing you might say, and the preventing of students from being punctual and responsible. You see what I did there? Now, give me a quick second here. Okay, so we're looking at your this first paragraph a little bit more. I made some changes. The author of the reading believes that the idea of homeschool gives more negative than positive effects, like lack of social interaction, irresponsible parents, and the preventing of students from being punctual and responsible. The lecturer casts doubt on the claims made in the article. He thinks that homeschooling could be a viable alternative in as much as, I use this instead of as, all students do not learn in the same way. Okay, now the next thing is, do we have to say all of this? How many words do we have here? You got 88 words. So the introduction in the integrated writing task doesn't need to be as long as your introduction, I think, in the independent writing task. You can be very direct, very concise here. So let me show you a trick here. Now, what you've written here is not bad. I mean, I made some grammatical corrections, as you can see. Overall, I mean, you did a good job in connecting the information together, but you probably used too many words doing that. So watch this. So the reading passage claims that, what if we say this? That homeschooling I'm going to get rid of most of this idea here. How about this? Check this out. Most people know what homeschooling is. The very name of it tells us what it is. So the reading passage claims that homeschooling, you might want to say negatively affects education because students are not able to get social interaction. They are taught by irresponsible parents and these pupils do not learn how to be, and that's probably it. Now, I don't even think you need all of this. Check this out. So we have you can say something like this. So the reading passage claims that homeschooling negatively affects education because students are not able to get social interaction. They're taught by irresponsible parents, and these pupils do not learn how to be punctual and responsible. However, the lecturer casts doubt on each of these claims. And this is probably good enough here. I mean, how many words do we have here? Now, what you did was okay, but I'm just showing you. I've pretty much cut it in half. I went from 88 down to 46 words, and I'm still expressing the main ideas of both the reading and the listening passage. You see what we're saying? Okay, in your second paragraph, you say, first of all, the author points out that homeschooling deprives students of social interaction with who? You know, students working in groups and solving problems and so on, right? So it deprives students of social interaction with other students. You might say, so they miss opportunities to work, to participate, you might want to say, in groups, and to solve problems. So I just developed this slightly, just a little bit more. And maybe here, where you say this point is challenged, you might want to say this. This point is challenged by the lecturer, however. He says that all fields do not require social skills. You can just say here, instead of say, just say, for example, computer engineers. Then you can say, in addition, I would put this in here, according to the speaker, some students are shy. You can just here say by nature. And homeschooling provides a good atmosphere for them. It also helps in developing extracurricular activities like sports and clubs. So we have some ideas here that we can put in there. And let's go back to the lecture here, make sure that we are explaining things. So we have, it says homeschool will provide them with a more relaxed and secure environment. You might want to say, instead of good atmosphere, you can say, how about easygoing atmosphere for them. You can also say something like students who are home schooled. So students who are homeschooled have chances you might want to say have chances to mingle with other peers by, you can put, participating in extracurricular activities like sports and clubs. That's probably good enough there. So I made some slight changes. I added a little bit in there to what you said. I took away some of what you said in the first paragraph. Am I right? So let's read this second paragraph one more time. First of all, the author points out that homeschooling deprives students of social interaction with other students, so they miss opportunities to participate in groups and to solve problems. This point is challenged by the lecturer, however. He says that all fields do not require social skills, for example, computer engineers. In addition, according to the speaker, some students are shy by nature, and homeschooling provides an easygoing atmosphere for them. Students who are homeschooled have chances. How about this? Have chances. I'm going to say I'm going to put that voice marker in there too. So students who are homeschooled, argues the speaker, have chances to mingle with other peers by participating in extracurricular activities like sports and clubs. There we go. So this paragraph I developed just a little bit more than what you have. Okay, let's take a look at your third paragraph here. So you say, secondly, the author contends that parents are not properly trained in the field of teaching, and they're often very irresponsible. So I'm going to put a comma right before the word and, because you are separating those two independent clauses there. So that's a common reason why we might use punctuation. So let's look at more. There's still, if you look at what you're doing here, you want to try to balance out. So about half of the paragraph is focusing on the reading passage, and then about half of that paragraph is focusing on the lecture. And that balanced type of compare and contrast organization prevents a fair presentation of the information without any bias. If you focus too much on one side and not enough on the other, it almost looks like you favor one side more than the other. And this is an objective piece of writing. Therefore, you want to have an objective tone here. Okay, so if we look at the reading passage, we can say you've covered the most important point. You might say something like, thereby limiting the breadth of students' education. I use the word breadth here. Why did I use that? It says here of having a well-rounded education. Well-rounded has to do with the breadth, the scope, the how much subjects the student studies, and so on. So that kind of helps clarify another idea from that reading passage. You might want to say, in contrast, this is one thing you can improve on. You need to use a transitional word of contrast as you move from the reading to the listening passage in each of your body paragraphs. That helps show the connection of your ideas a little bit better. You have the lecturer, or if you said this, rebutting. The lecturer rebutting this argument, maybe put commas here, and I'm trying to combine these two sentences to create a little bit more advanced structure here. In contrast, the lecturer rebutting this argument suggests that technology has developed these days and teachers can teach through the internet. Internet's actually capitalized, and students can teach through the internet and then maybe you will say here, maybe put a semicolon here. Moreover, students can be monitored. Be careful of your passive voice here. You have can and then you have be. Whenever using be, when you're using passive voice, you have to use the be verb plus the past participle. So passive voice. I'm going to write that down. We'll talk about that later. He also says that irresponsible parents are completely a false mentality. All right, let's take a look at what is said here. It says we cannot let minimal cases of abuse and irresponsible parenting dictate the notion of homeschool. There are cases of abuse and irresponsibility from teachers and students at schools, not to mention abuse from other students. So this is where we have to do something here. It says the idea that teachers do not instruct homeschool students is completely false. So what do you say here? He also says that irresponsible parents are completely false mentality. So we have to change the meaning of what you said here. This is causing some trouble. So you have to say he also says that, or how about this? We'll say that students are not taught by teachers. Exactly what it says here is a false claim, adds the speaker. You could say this, and we're putting the voice marker at the end. Now, what are we saying here? The fact that, but I'm making it more formal, so that students are not taught by teachers is a false claim, adds a speaker. In fact, the speaker contends that there are few cases of irresponsible parents who homeschool children. So these exceptions, homeschooling, should not cast that's probably what I would say there. Okay, I think we are making some progress. So you had some ideas you weren't exactly explaining, I think, accurately here. So I had to make some changes. All right, we still need to work on this paragraph a little bit more. So secondly, the author contends that parents are not properly trained in the field of teaching. They're often very irresponsible, thereby limiting the breadth of students' education. Maybe say education's here. In contrast, the lecturer rebutting this argument suggests that technology has developed these days and teachers can teach through the internet. Can maybe monitor homeschool children through the internet. Moreover, students I don't even think we need this. I'm going to get rid of this sentence here. I don't think it's even needed. We have that students are not taught by teachers is a false claim, adds a speaker. In fact, the speaker contends that there are maybe I'll change this to in addition. In addition, the speaker contends that there are a few cases of irresponsible parents who homeschool their children, so these exceptions to homeschooling should not give this type of education a bad reputation. And this is what you might want to say, according to the speaker. Abuse of students. And I think the argument here is that it can sometimes occur even at traditional schools. So it's saying you can see sometimes abuse of students can occur at traditional schools. By teachers and students. Okay, I think that we're in pretty good shape there. How many words do we have in this paragraph? So we got about 115. Okay, we're now ready to go on to the next. Okay, let's take a look at your last body paragraph here. So finally, the author states that schools make students more punctual and responsible. And you need to say something like because they require because teachers maybe and administrators require students to begin, you might want to say, their studies every morning at a similar time. Like, furthermore, students who show up late receive consequences, maybe say negative consequences, so I think we are pretty good here. We just had to say a few more things here. Then we might say, let's keep working on this. So finally, the author states that schools make students more punctual and responsible because teachers and administrators require students to begin their studies every morning at a similar time. Furthermore, students who show up late receive negative consequences, so they learn the importance of being on time. This type of, we might say, then you can say this will help you can probably say build their future careers. Okay, this is okay here, so we got enough now, right? So the lecturer, on the other hand, posits, good vocabulary word, that some subjects create, this is subject-verb agreement, so be careful, your subjects is plural, so create should be plural. We have the lecturer, on the other hand, posits that some subjects create pillars of responsibility. But let's look at what is said here. It says homeschooling allows students to become self-reliant and independent, struggling through mathematics, science, and history lessons and find the answer on their own, create the pillars of responsibility. Say you're not exactly saying that. Posits that when students independently learn answers to the lessons in their subjects, See, you're leaving out some information here. That's another reason you're scoring a little bit below the 375 threshold. You don't exactly have a complete, accurate presentation of the information from the reading or the listening passage, because I'm adding information here, right? And that means if I have to add information, your score is going to have to drop a little bit. So the lecture, on the other hand, posits that when students independently learn to find answers to the lessons of their subjects, maybe and it says here they create the pillars of their responsibility. You say they become more self-reliant and responsible. I would just say it like that. So they become more self-reliant and responsible. So the students from homeschooling, put another voice marker in there. According to the speaker, will have already So we have here the students from the home schools, you might say here. So the students from the home schools, according to the speaker, will have already learned to work on their own. Then you can probably say this: when they attend college. I think this will work here. Parents, do not push them to go to college. I would just say parents will not have to push these students to go to college because maybe work out academic issues maybe independently. Okay, I think we're pretty good here. All right, let's take a look at this paragraph one more time. So the author states that, I'm going to say traditional schools. It kind of separates it from the other one we're talking about here. So the author states that traditional schools make students more punctual and responsible because teachers and administrators require students to begin their studies every morning at a similar time. Furthermore, students who show up late receive negative consequences, so they learn the importance of being on time. This type of responsibility, the author argues, will help build their future careers. The lecturer, on the other hand, posits that when students independently learn to find answers to the lessons in their subjects, they become more self-reliant and responsible. The students from the homeschools, according to the speaker, will have already learned how to work on their own when they attend college. Parents, you could probably say, cause effect. Parents, therefore, will not have to push these students to go to college because they will already know how to work out academic issues independently. In conclusion, you say, this is the last one, the lecturer effectively casts doubt on all the claims presented in the reading. Yes, and that's a good conclusion. You don't have to overdo it. We developed these paragraphs sufficiently, so there's no need to develop the intro or the conclusion very much, because we've already shown in body paragraph number 1, 2, and 3 that we could develop those ideas. Now I think we can look at it one more time, and then I will have some final comments that I want to go over with you. So that's what we want to do right now. So let's take a look at all of the paragraphs. We'll probably make just a few more editing changes. Okay, let me go ahead and spell check. Let's spell check your document just for a quick second. Okay, let's change that. You need to have 2 T's for rebutting. I think you can make it one word. I've seen it as one word, but I'm going to change it just in case. Okay, now let's read it one more time. Okay, so we have, the reading passage claims that homeschooling negatively affects education. And believe it or not here, we need to have a verb, not a noun. So affects, A-F-F-E-C-T is a verb, and effects is actually a noun. So that's mine. I'm changing that. So negatively affects education because students are not able to get social interaction. They're taught by irresponsible parents, and these pupils do not learn how to be responsible and punctual. However, the lecturer casts doubt on each of these claims. First of all, the author points out that homeschooling deprives students of social interaction with other students, so they miss opportunities to participate in groups and to solve problems. This point is challenged by the lecturer, however. He says that all fields do not require social skills, for example, computer engineers. Or if you say field, maybe it's better to say computer engineering, not computer engineers, because you're using the field here, so then talk about the field of study, not the person. In addition, according to the speaker, some students are shy by nature, and homeschooling provides an easygoing atmosphere for them. Students who are homeschooled, argues the speaker, have chances to mingle with other peers by participating in extracurricular activities like sports and clubs. Secondly, the author contends that parents are not properly trained in the field of teaching, and they're often very irresponsible, thereby limiting the breadth of students' educations. In contrast, the lecturer, rebutting this argument, suggests that technology has developed these days and teachers can monitor homeschooled children through the internet. That students are not taught by teachers is a false notion, adds the speaker. In addition, the speaker contends that there are few cases of irresponsible parents who homeschool their children, so these exceptions to homeschooling should not give this type of education a bad reputation. In fact, according to the speaker, sometimes abuse of students can occur at traditional schools by teachers and students, maybe as well. Okay. The next paragraph, finally, The author states that traditional schools make students more punctual and responsible because teachers and administrators require students to begin their studies every morning at a similar time. Furthermore, students who show up late receive negative consequences, so they learn the importance of being on time. This type of responsibility, the speaker argues, will help build their future careers. The lecture, on the other hand, posits that when students independently learn to find answers to the lessons in their subjects, they become more self-reliant and responsible. The students from the home schools, according to the speaker, will have already learned to work on their own when they attend college. Parents, therefore, will not have to push these students to go to college because they will already know how to work out academic issues independently. In conclusion, the lecture effectively casts doubt on all the claims presented in the reading. And that is how you change what you have written, which is 3.0 out of 5 or 22 points out of 30. This is how you make it 5.5 out of 5 or 30 points out of 30. You see what we're saying there?
Looks like it's going.
In the overall assessment of your writing, there are 7 specific things that I think you need to be aware of in order for you to improve, I think, your score. Number 1 is inaccuracies or incompleteness in your writing task. So sometimes you might not be 100% accurate in what you're saying, or you might leave out something that needs to be put into your response. So that's something you want to really work on as you're doing the integrated writing. Make sure that you can capture, I think, the main ideas of both the reading and the listening, and then some of those important support points. Number 2, being more concise. Sometimes you can get rid of some of your unnecessary words. You remember in the introduction, I was actually able to cut that by 50% by getting rid of some repetition and some unnecessary ideas there. Number 3, problems with articles. That means a, and the. Be careful about those articles. You can look up, if you want to go on the internet, you can put using articles or article usage in English grammar. You can find some good websites with that. Sentence structure issues with multiple verbs. Remember, an independent clause has one subject and one verb in it. Now, if you have more than one subject or more than one verb, you have to have some type of connector or conjunction in order to combine those ideas so you don't have a sentence structure issue. Number 5, I think you have one problem with subject-verb agreement in there. You had one problem forming passive voice, so be careful about that. And then you could improve your understanding of when to use or not use commas in writing. Those are some things that you can look at. All right? Okay, I'm at my website right now. So what are some things that you can do at my website that can help you improve, I think, your writing and your grammar and your word choice and all of those things, right? So I'm looking at the grammar part of my course right now. I think lesson number 3, sentences with participial phrases, grammar lesson 3, grammar lesson number 4. I think that would be a good one. What else? You had some problems with parallel structure. Check out that one. Let me keep going here. Articles, lesson number 20. Prepositions, lesson 21. I think is a good one for you. Actually, passive verbs, lesson 19. Lesson 27, being more concise. We mentioned that. You can take a look at that. Lesson 28, when to use commas. All right. Now let's go into the writing part of my course. See if there's anything in there that you might need to review to help you. Okay, let's go over to looking over here, summary tips, successful responses, evaluation of an essay. Your structure is actually pretty good, so you just want to make sure that you're getting all of the necessary information and putting it in there. So maybe one. Lesson number 8, this might be a good lesson, and I want you to look at this lesson in the sense that maybe you can consider either using repetition, maybe rephrasing ideas, and then using transition words as ways of making the writing a little bit more organized. So you can take a look at that. So I think if you look over some of those things, this will also help you with your writing. And the main thing is just keep practicing. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a student about last year. His writing when I met him was 21 points out of 30. And by the time he finished my course, he was at 29 points when he took the TOEFL exam. And he only used my course for 2.5 months, but he completed about 35 practice tests over that period. So that means that he did a lot of writing practice, and he was able to really improve his writing. And most of those writing practice tests were not error corrected by me. They were just simply scored by my teaching assistant. And it was all of that practice that actually helped him reach a very high writing score. So that's what I'm going to recommend for you is keep doing the writing practice like you've been doing in the past. Try to take maybe 2 or 3 writing practice tests every week. Submit them, get them scored, keep moving on. So practice does make perfect. All right, so thank you for doing this practice test. I hope in this video it is giving you some good information to help you improve your writing.